Well, good morning, everyone. Please sit comfortably. Today we're very fortunate that Jisen is going to share with us her experience of doing a solitary retreat, or sometimes called a personal retreat. And of course, such a retreat isn't solitary and isn't actually personal, in that the whole universe has to be there for such a thing to occur. But nevertheless, the experience is of a single person deeply engaging with their practice over an extended period of time. And it has the great capacity to purify us and deepen our practice and build confidence in ourselves as practitioners. So thank you, Jisen, for sharing with us your experience.
Well, firstly, I want to say thank you so much, Mushin, for giving me this opportunity to share and the invitation to to practice the Dharma in a different way with our beloved Sangha. And thank you, everyone, for your interest. What a privilege it is to share this in the middle of our Rohatsu with the lake and the mountains and the rabbits and the grasses and the trees, and we're all practicing together. It was when I decided that I wanted to do this retreat. I'd actually thought about doing a retreat like this, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And I discovered that in Zen practice in general, like other teachers I had spoken to, it's not something that is all that common. Practicing in retreat like this is a much more common way to go. And then as I, I'm in postulancy, I'm on a path to become a priest. And Mushin said, well, one of the ways that you can do this is through personal retreat. And I went, oh, what an opportunity. Because Kokyo, who is Mushin's teacher, does personal retreats, and Mushin's been on personal retreats. So I thought that was a great opportunity, because it's part of a Zen heritage. Bodhidharma faced the wall for 9 years. Shito lived in a little grass hut. There's many, many stories of people going on personal retreat. And like Mushin was saying, I kind of like the word personal because of continuous practice. We're practicing with everything: the grass, trees, the lake, the rivers and mountains, the earth. So never alone. And I think the thing that really drew me to personal retreat many years ago was when I first read that book, Cave in the Snow by Tenzin Palmo. Some of you may have read that. And I didn't think, oh, that's weird. I went, wow, imagine that. So I'm just saying that because I noticed that there was a tendency in me many, many years ago. And if you have a tendency, just hold it and see what arises out of it, because you just never know. And as I share this Dharma talk today, notice what comes up in you, what feelings, dreams, questions, because, there's going to be information, and just notice what arises in you, even past experiences, and we'll have a sharing at the end. Because I feel we're all together in this field, and the field is wise. We're dropping down into this deep field of wisdom. So together, let's see what arises. Okay, I'm going to start with some practical things. As you know, I went to a Buddhist retreat centre called Tong Ling. You may have seen the video that I posted in the WhatsApp group of my time there. I put that video together mainly just to give everybody a feel for the place, because it's in a wilderness area. It's like on the far western side of Kangaroo Island, which is south of South Australia. Close for me, further away for you all. And it's 1,300 acres of very, very scrubby bush. It gets all the winds from South Africa, so it's very windy there a lot of the time. And it backs onto Flinders Chase National Park. So it's a very beautiful piece of land, and it feels wild and windswept. It was founded by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and Tong Ling means place of bliss and emptiness in Tibetan. It was opened in 1994, and there's a stupa there, and there's a group retreat centre. It's all been built by volunteers, rammed earth. The group retreat centre can house 26 people with a big dining room. Everybody has a separate room. And then there's meditation that happens in the stupa on group retreats, but they're also now building a new big meditation hall. So apart from that, down the road, there are 6 individual retreat houses, and they're also building another 2, because personal retreat is a big part of Tibetan lineage, Tibetan training and lineage. And some people were on retreat there for 2 years already while I was there. I saw nobody apart from the manager a couple of times. But, 1 month, I went for 1 month, and that was short. Most people go for 3 to 6 months. So, you have to book ahead. You have to let them know well in advance, because it's in demand. So it's fairly isolated. To get there, you fly from Adelaide Airport. You fly to Kingscote, which is the main airport on Kangaroo Island. It's about the size of a bus terminal, but that's the airport. And one of the managers from the retreat centre will come and pick you up and take you there for a small fee. It's about 40 kilometres away from Kingscote, and there's no contact with shops or anything like that. The nearest mobile phone tower is 60 kilometres over the ocean. So any mobile reception does come through, but it's very patchy. So sometimes it'll be there, sometimes not, depending on the wind. But even though you don't see any people, you feel the animals around you. You see lots of animals and birds, and there's a sense of quietness in the place, at that place, because many people have practiced there. And I felt the practice of other people. Just our cushions were further apart, maybe like half a kilometre down the road. But they were there practicing. And then there was the house that I was living in that also had a sense of practice. It was set up for practice. Very simple, with a meditation room, well equipped, fire, which at this time of year I still needed a fire, but you Canberra people would know about that. It was surprising for me, mainly because of the wind, the cold winds. I also had a sense of safety. Because of the isolation and knowing that there were people around. I had my mobile phone. That was a requirement, that I had a Telstra SIM card with a mobile phone, just in case anything happens. There were bushfires a couple of years ago that came within 300 metres of the retreat centre and just stopped miraculously. The place didn't get burnt out, so there's a whole protocol around fire, what happens in times of fire. And also another requirement was to have the support of a teacher. Now that's also a part of Tibetan practice, where if you're in solitary retreat, you may have some kind of communication with a lama, maybe every few weeks or few months or whatever, I don't know, whatever the arrangement is. And my two teachers, who I had the loving support of, one was Mushin and also Zenshin Florence Kaplo. And they both had different ideas about this. Mushin felt that I would be okay, and that supported the part of me that felt, yes, I would be okay, great, I can go for a month. And Zenshin Florence had the feeling that, well, it would be good if you were in a session, you would have Dokusan. So I organised with Zenshin Florence to write to her briefly once a week, just getting to the essence, a few lines of how I was going. And she wrote back words of encouragement, which I really appreciated. So that supported another side of me. So if you're thinking about this, have a think about what kind of support you may want, if you want support or not, or just have the option of having support. The other thing that was important was a schedule. I had to submit a schedule of practice. So I put something together a bit like what we do in session, and I managed to, for the first week, I managed to stay with that schedule. And then I felt like I wanted to follow what the practice was calling me to do, to follow my inner tendency to sit, because I'm kind of a naturally disciplined person, and so I thought, well, what if I let go of the schedule and just followed the calling to sit, and I wonder what that would look like as a practice. So I still managed to somehow sit 5 to 6 hours each day. It just varied a bit, and I found what created that variance was the weather and when I could go out for a walk. So, but it was nice to just feel the urge to sit, the need to sit. So I just wanted to briefly talk over the schedule that I followed. That might be of interest to you. So I'd wake at about 6 o'clock, have tea and breakfast. 6:30 I'd do yoga, meditate, and then at 6:30 the meditation practice. I would start my meditation practice, and I'd do sitting, zazen, do a service at the end, which usually took about 20 minutes, half an hour. 9:30 I'd have breakfast and do some housework. just tidying up. Oops. At 10:30, I'd go for a walk. I'd walk for 40 minutes around the perimeter of the property, and then I would end at the stupa, and then I would go inside the stupa and sit for about 30, 40 minutes with the frogs and the birds and the wind and the stillness inside the stupa. It was truly beautiful. Walk. There was a big lake there. You probably saw the lake in the video. So there are little seats around the lake. I'd walk around the lake, find a place to sit again for 30 minutes, then go home, have lunch. And at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I had some sutras that I was studying, or fascicles, Dogen. Then I would, between 4 and 6 o'clock, I would do Zazen and Kinhin. Dinner at 7:30, like I'd do dinner prep, then dinner at 7:30 to 8:30, then 7:30 to 8:30 I'd do Zazen, dinner before that. And then after 8:30, I'd go to 8:30 to 10 o'clock, I was sewing my zagu, and then about 10 o'clock I'd go to bed. So roughly that's what the day would look like with variation. Food was a big part of it, because I'm sure the Tenzo knows how much time food preparation takes. So what I did was I would spend Sundays cooking. I just cooked up. There was a fridge there, a decent sized freezer. I cooked up like 3 meals on a Sunday, did a lot of freezing, ate oryoki style, so that the reheating was really easy. I took my rice cooker along because it's got 2 shelves. I love my rice cooker. And that way I could heat up the dinner as well as rice, because there's no microwave there. It's all on solar power. And I just tried to keep everything simple and treat everything that I was doing as part of a continuous practice. So, I used my oryoki bowls and had a ritual for each meal. And what else? The other thing is, because with the food, I had food for the first 2 weeks that I brought with me. I bought it in Kingscote. And then the Tong Ling, they have a protocol where there's a box down the road from where my house was. It's a metal box, corrugated iron. And if you want something, you write a note in the box, put it in the box, put up a stick. The manager will drive past, sees the stick up, and he'll come and read the note and see what you need. So I put my shopping list in there. Then the manager would take the shopping list, go to Kingscote every 2 weeks, does this for all the retreatants, bring back your shopping, and so then you'd have food for another 2 weeks, which is very fine, but it means that you have fresh vegetables, greens for the first week, and I had to really think about what kind of vegetables and food I wanted for the second week. So I figured, if this is helpful, things like cabbage is really good. It keeps carrots. I took along a little sprouting jar, and I sprouted alfalfa and mung beans. That was a lifesaver, to have fresh vegetables with each meal. So I really thought about what kind of foods I'd be able to get fresh. Fruits usually keep quite well, so salads with apples, things like that. Yeah, and like we do here for oryoki, just mixing grains to maximize protein. Um, beans and rice and quinoa and all of those things. Mixing them up, you get a much more full range of protein, amino acids, um, and and I had eggs. I had an egg a day. So exercise, as I've said, is my walking from place to place. I tried to fit that in once a day, and also I did yoga most days, so that kept this body happy and well. I wanted to talk also about my bowing practice because I feel like it's an important thing to me. It's something, it's part of my practice that arose a couple of years ago. I just had this urge to bow to things, I don't know, it just started happening, to bow to, I don't know, to the food in the kitchen, to my bed, to my clothes, to the plants outside, to the sky, to the earth. And I would do these things, but then when I'd go to the supermarket, I felt really weird about it. And I told this to Zenshin Florence, and she said, well, you can just do inner bows, just when you're in the supermarket, just bow inside. And I thought about that and I started doing that. But the strange thing is that when I started doing it, my body just followed. So I just do these kind of little weird half bows when I'm at the checkout. But she was very encouraging of my bowing practice. And you can think that it's a weird thing. At first I thought it was a weird thing and that nothing, and who's going to notice? Nobody really notices these things. It doesn't mean anything. But then I went on a long walk last year on the Bibbulmun track in Western Australia, where I was walking through forest for a month. And I was with my partner Jane, who some of you know, and we stopped and camped at a place for three nights just to have a rest. And I would sit under this big karri tree. It was about 90 metres tall. I'd sit under this tree in the morning for half an hour and in the evening for half an hour and meditate. And then on the last day that we were there, we'd packed up all of our gear and were ready to head off. And I just wanted to go and sit by this tree again for the last time. And I sat for this half hour, got up. It's absolutely still, not a breath of air anywhere. And I bow to the tree and I look up and there's all these little yellow flowers raining down. And at that moment, I just cried and the tree and I had this moment. And I thought, wow, that everything around me notices. So after that, I realized I'm never ever alone. Everything notices. Bowing is a very powerful practice. And I have a little quote here from Suzuki Roshi from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And it's in the chapter on bowing. By bowing, we are giving up ourselves. To give up ourselves means to give up our dualistic ideas. So there is no difference between Zazen practice and bowing. Usually to bow means to pay our respect to something which is more worthy of respect than ourselves. But when you bow to Buddha, you should have no idea of Buddha. You just become one with Buddha. You are already Buddha himself. When you become one with Buddha, one with everything that exists, you find the true meaning of being. When you forget all your dualistic ideas, everything becomes your teacher, and everything can be an object of worship. When everything exists within your big mind, all dualistic relationships drop away. So when I was at Tong Ling, I continued my bowing practice on my walks, and I never felt alone. So study, as I said, I did a couple of hours of study a day, but I had two books that I was studying. One was was more like a light study. It was I'd get up in the morning and with my cup of tea, I was reading this book called Inside the Grass Hut by Ben Connolly. And Ben Connolly, he's an ordained priest, and it's based on a poem by Shito from 700 to 790, and it's a 30-line poem, and each poem is a chapter. So it was 30 chapters, 30 days that I was there. And it's such a beautiful poem. It was really inspiring for a personal retreat for 30 days. And I'd just like to share the poem with you. Okay, so make yourself comfortable. Song of the Grassroof Hermitage by Shito. Translated by Taigen Dan Layton and Kaz Tanahashi. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 feet square, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A great vehicle bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling or lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west, firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. A shining window below the green pines, jade palaces or vermilion towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus, this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests? Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers. Be familiar with their instructions. Bind grasses to build a hut and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands. Walk innocent. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the underlying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. So, it was so Ben Connolly, he writes like a personal reflection on each line. It's a very beautiful, simple book to read. And the other book that I was reading was I was studying Uji and Shinshu Roberts. Uji is a Fascicle by Dogen on time, and Shinshu Roberts, who is another priest, has written a fantastic book called Being Time, which also happens to have 30 chapters. So they kind of complemented each other and were the perfect study for the period of time I was there. Okay. The last thing I wanted to talk about was two things. Having enough sleep was really important. I found that as the retreat went on, I just got really tired. I would need an afternoon nap, and I slept a full, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. solidly. It's maybe it's part of slowing down. Maybe it's just all the sitting practice. I don't know. But I just followed that, so it was all right. The last thing I wanted to talk about, which is coming out of retreat, and that's kind of applicable for where we are now. We're in retreat. We're going to be coming out, and after a month, it was overwhelming. Going to the airport, hearing the music, people talking around me, and I thought about all of that, and I graced myself 2 days to just be quiet when I got home and not be around other people. And to just go slowly. And my friends, they were all very respectful of that. They knew, they understood that. It's also about, like entering something very precious and to just hold space for that preciousness when you return to an everyday routine, to let yourself marinate in it a bit longer. It's important before rushing back, because once we rush back into the routine, that pulling in many different directions happens. It's so easy. And and to just remember the simplicity of nothing extra. I think that's what I brought back, is the simplicity of nothing extra, to let whatever is extra, drop it, to notice what is extra. Yeah. So thank you. I'd like to just open up the space. We've got time. Open up the space if you have questions or comments, or what came up for you, a personal reflection.
I'm just going to take the pin away so then we can see. There we go. Oh, okay. Russ is with us. Lovely.
Shinka.
Could you share a little bit about how it's deepened your practice after you did come back and be in society and so on?
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe repeat the question just in case it doesn't come up.
Okay. Shinka was saying, can I say something about how the retreat has deepened my practice? I feel that not having, we have an experience of it in sesshin, but to go for a month and not have anybody to talk to, and just go through the process of, everything drops away, the things that come up, the little old conflicts that come up for me, unresolved things, and just letting them sit, letting them resolve, letting them drop away, and to just be really quiet. Then what next? And have these big moments of silence. What next? Nothing. there's, there's nothing, to just be with the silence, the practice of just being with the silence in myself, and feeling really settled about that. So I feel very settled in this body and in this life, and a tremendous amount of love came up for me. Love for the earth, my life, love for everything. Yeah. Thank you. Fiona.
Jisen, thank you. How did you choose the literature in your plan for study in preparation for the retreat?
How did I choose the literature and the plan for study? Well, Ben Connolly was a late addition, Shito's Grassroof Hermitage. I heard about it in a podcast and I thought, oh, that sounds like the perfect thing for me to take on retreat. So it was like a late addition to what I was before I went, and just happened to be 30 chapters. But Uji, I really love Dogen. I'm a Dogen lover, and I'm working my way through the Shobogenzo, and Uji it's a really fascinating fascicle, and I had Shinshu Roberts's book on being time, and I had been reading. I'd read a few different translations of Uji, and then just having that book, I thought, oh, that's a perfect time to really deepen my understanding of that one fascicle. So yeah, I guess it's really just because I love Dogen, and I chose that fascicle. Next time I'll just choose a different fascicle. Shinka.
I feel very inspired by what you've shared, and I imagine you being out there in this sort of wild but beautiful place. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. It was very comfortable. Like, I had a really comfortable house. It wasn't a grass roof hermitage that was going to blow away. Yeah, so I felt very cared for, and it was really not as hard as what I thought it would be. It was just a beautiful experience. Jack. Zenko.
What did you feel that Uji brought out in the experience?
What do I think Uji brought out in the experience? I felt that because what I would do is I had an audio recording of Uji, so I would listen to the fascicle every day, and then I would read a chapter. So listening to it every day gave me a familiarity with the text, and then diving into interdependence, impermanence, and the way that and dependent co-arising, and just realizing that there's all these words that are just about one moment, just this one moment, and that we're all arising at the same time, this one moment, like arising and ceasing at the same time, simultaneously, and to just hold that, and also to realize that it's not any, I take responsibility for my actions in this life, and yes, it's partly to do with the choices and things that I do that make a mess, But I realized, wow, interdependence, it's also to do with the entire universe. Like, what brings me to any particular action at any moment is not just me alone. It's like the configuration of the entire universe. And I'm here to take responsibility for that. So, many, many, many things, but that's just a little bit of what I got out of it. Does that help? Sure, girl.
The location choose itself, or did you consider other places where you might actually do the retreat?
Mm-hmm. So, did the location choose itself, or did I look at other places? Well, I chose it because it was close. It was just a 40-minute plane ride away, whereas I would have flown across the earth to do something like this, which I have done. I spent time in New Paya and I was thinking about other retreat places, but this was close by, and in some ways I feel like that place, that place chose me. I have this feeling that, I found it and put in an application, and there just happened to be a retreat house free at that time because I only wrote to them like 2 or 3 months before. So, and the retreat manager, I actually got the teacher's house. So, other teachers had been there to practice. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a really big house that I'm in. All the other retreat houses were much smaller. So somehow I felt like, the universe kind of conspired to give me that in that moment. Tony.
Did you have much or any fear or trepidation as you started, and if so, how did you deal with it? The second thing, sort of partly associated with in terms of support, like mobile phone reception is patchy, so yeah, and did you actually just do old school writing letters? And it doesn't seem like there's support. So that's nice, but you could have gone through a crisis by the time you get a reply. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Thank you. So the question was, did I feel fear and trepidation at the beginning, and whether there didn't seem like there was much support because of just the writing and the patchy mobile phone reception. I didn't feel any fear. I think it's because in my life I feel like I've been preparing for this over and over again. And you would know this too because you were riding on the Mundabidi. So when I go walking, most of the time I take an EPIRB so that I can let off a signal, because I've been stuck in bushfires before in the snow mountains and have had a helicopter come in. So I'm aware of that, but it didn't feel like that. I actually felt really safe and well supported. And I could send text messages to the manager who would get them eventually. But that's no different to how long it takes for somebody to reply to you anyway. Sometimes the writing in the box was kind of it was relieving. It just kind of lets you drop a lot of worry. I felt like once I was there and I was settled, and I had all these practices in place, like my bowing practice, and knowing that there are other retreatants and the manager was around driving down the road once a day, I felt quite safe. Yeah. Fiona?
Yeah, I think for me it would be the internal demons that would be contributing to feeling unsafe. Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking about the other traditions like Walden went on a form of retreat.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember reading a writer, and I think it was a fiction talking about just going away. Yeah, it's more of a reflection than a question.
Walden going on retreats. And I think, walking and pilgrimage is also another form of retreat. Certainly for me, walking has been a way of processing all kinds of, feelings and things that come up. But the internal fears, do you want to say something about that? No.
I'm happy for you to do it.
Okay. Internal fears. Well, I feel that it's something that it's just part of what comes up, and to just sit with that, to sit with whatever feelings come up, and like I said, to give, if you're thinking of doing this, to give yourself the option of writing to a teacher to support you. But I think if you in my experience, to just sit with the fear, the sensations, the feeling of it, not with the story that goes with it. Something happens when you sit with just the sensations of it and let go of the story. Sometimes the story is important, then it may be that there's a bushfire there, in which case you don't want to just sit there and feel it. You want to let the manager know. But, like being able to really be with what's real and what's not real. It's a valuable thing to do. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for your time.
Yeah, much appreciated. We'll finish with some chanting and
It doesn't happen.
you're going to get a sutra book. Okay.